Labor Day weekend. I mean, that 3 days was great, wasn't it? Especially Saturday morning when we got a kind of a little early taste of fall. I was up in Kentucky at a horse show with my girls, and it was like 60 degrees outside. We're like, wow, feeling fabulous. But here we are on Tuesday, and the heat is coming back as we get a live look over our city. You can kind of see some of the clouds are a little thick out there, too. We are under a air quality alert today as a result of that heat and really the humidity that it's making its way back in. Temperatures this week expected to be back up in the 90s. I know you don't want to hear that, but it looks like summer is not quite over yet. In any case, we are glad that you're back with us here on Atlanta News First Plus. Hopefully your weekend was good. Unfortunately, when we have long holiday weekends like Labor Day, like Memorial Day, like the 4th of July, one of the things that is such a huge concern is people staying safe on the roads. And you know, the Georgia State Patrol always talks about not drinking and driving, watching your speed. And unfortunately, over this long Labor Day weekend, Atlanta roads were pretty deadly. Actually, just within the last 24 hours, authorities are investigating 2 deadly crashes in metro Atlanta. The latest one involves 2 Morehouse College students. We've now learned their names. Hugh Douglas and Christian Files, they're the victims of a deadly crash that happened yesterday afternoon. This was over in East Point. There was a post on Morehouse's Facebook that says not only were the 2 just students together at Morehouse, but they were actually friends and roommates. Douglas was getting a business administration degree. Files, by the way, was also a business major and a member of the track and field team. So what we are learning now from Georgia State Patrol is that the car that Douglas and Files were in was apparently speeding around a curb on Church Street when another car passed that car, and then that car hit a power pole. The car that the 2 were in rotated, hit another power pole, and flipped over. Georgia State troopers say Douglas and Files actually, unfortunately, died at the scene. The driver of that other car was not hurt, but really such a tragic story. And as you take a look at that video, you can see just how bad that crash was. Again, this happening in East Point, claiming the lives of 2 Morehouse College students. Now, we've got an update on another deadly crash. This is one that we brought you actually as breaking news on Atlanta News First. Rodney Harris was all over this with his traffic reports yesterday morning. We can tell you that we now know the names of the young people who were killed in this accident. There were 3 of them who died in this accident. Actually, 5 people died in this car accident in Gwinnett County, and 3 of them were teens. They were students at Lakeside High School. Let's take you to the scene here. This was actually when the car that the victims were in went over an exit ramp and then fell onto Interstate 85 southbound. So actually, their vehicle actually went over that exit ramp and fell onto another car. 2 other vehicles were involved in that accident. 3 people from that other car were hurt. Officers are still investigating the circumstances that led to this crash. So just a terrible, terrible Labor Day weekend on the roads here in the metro area. You know, I've got to tell you, I've got teenage daughters at home, and one of the things that it's so sad because the 2 Morehouse College students were both 25 years old. 3 teens were killed in that accident over in Gwinnett County. And as a parent, one of the things you just want to tell your kids is you're not invincible. Be careful out there on the roads. Watch your speed. And as a parent, I really feel for the families of these young people who lost their lives in these tragic accidents that in many cases could have been avoided. So just be careful. That's all I can say about that. We are continuing to watch what's happening at the Fulton County Courthouse. Now, over the next couple of days, it's going to be quite busy there. Former President Donald Trump's co-defendants are set to appear in court tomorrow for arraignment hearings. in the Georgia racketeering indictment, that RICO indictment that was brought on by the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. Atlanta News First's Rebecca Schramm has been following the story from the very beginning and has the latest on what we can expect tomorrow.
The former president has already waived his right to hear a formal reading of the charges, and he's entered a not guilty plea. So Donald Trump will not appear tomorrow here at the Fulton County Courthouse. Same for at least 11 other defendants in the case that accuses them of illegally conspiring to overturn Georgia's 2020 election results. Rudy Giuliani is another example of a defendant who has entered a not guilty plea and will skip the arraignment hearing. 7 others will be here at the Fulton County Courthouse if they don't file paperwork in time to waive their appearance. Meanwhile, a few Republican lawmakers in Georgia and in Washington, D.C. are urging Georgia Governor Brian Kemp to sanction District Attorney Fani Willis over the indictment, claiming her case is pure politics. But on Thursday, Kemp said there's no legal reason to do so and that the branches of the state need to stay separate.
In Georgia, we will not be engaging in political theater that only inflames the emotions of the moment.
Something else we're watching this week, Governor Kemp has named a review commission to determine if one of the defendants should remain in office. We're talking about State Senator Sean Still. He's accused of being one of Trump's quote-unquote fake electors. At the Fulton County Courthouse, Rebecca Schramm, Atlanta News First.
Rebecca, thanks very much for that. We, of course, are going to be staying on top of that story for you. The easiest way for you to keep up to date with what's happening, because these situations are changing every single day, these new developments, is to get our app. That way you'll get those push alerts sent straight to your phone. You can go to your app store. You can find that app for free in your app store, I should say, on your Apple device or Google Play. All right, it is a recurring problem for the best team in college football. You know, football season just started. This is the last thing the University of Georgia needed, right, is to get attention away from what's happening on the field to what's happening off the field. Again, another person connected to the university has been arrested for speeding. This time, it's a team staffer. And this is the former staffer that we have been talking about. You know, of course, several University of Georgia football players were arrested or cited for speeding and or reckless driving since UGA staffer Chandler LaCroix and Devin Willock were killed in a January 15th crash. This young man is a former Dog. He played for 2 teams over a 5-year NFL career. His arrest is a first for a coach or administrator, and this is what Coach Kirby Smart had to say about that.
Yeah, there'll be internal discipline. It's a personnel matter, and I really can't comment further on it.
So again, Coach saying, hey, he'd rather focus on what's happening on the field and what's happening off the field. But again, another former staffer arrested for speeding. So it's just bringing a lot of unnecessary and unwanted attention to the football program. Another story that we're watching for you today, it's developing right now, actually. A really quiet neighborhood turned into a crime scene. Atlanta police are investigating a woman who was shot to death in her own car. This happened on Browns Mill Road in the Glen Rose Heights neighborhood in southeast Atlanta. And we've had reporters out there at the scene all morning for you. Police tell us that a woman who is somewhere between 25 and 30 years old was shot while she was still in her car. This happened about 2 o'clock this morning. Now, detectives are still trying to figure out exactly where the initial crime scene started, but we now know it ended here on Browns Mill Road. There were 3 cars involved in this incident. All 3 cars are still on the scene, but the drivers have not been arrested. And police say road rage in this situation is what they think led to the death of this young woman.
It is not one of our top motives for homicides in the city. I can't even. It's so small. I can't even give you the number for it.
I seen her crash at the top of the hill, and then I guess she spent the block again, And then next thing I know, I seen her come back in the apartment. I guess she went out the other way, and then she was right here.
So again, a young woman shot and killed in her car. Police telling us that this was a case of road rage. It's not something that they often see in homicides, but when you're out there on the roads, just be really careful again. So just a terrible Labor Day weekend on Atlanta roads. We're going to leave you on this Tuesday with something positive. Okay, we've been telling you for quite some time that there is an overcrowding issue in our shelters, and so shelter directors are trying to do something to make sure those animals get adopted. It's kind of a new approach to clearing out Atlanta's animal shelters. It's a Fulton County initiative. Basically, what they're calling this is doggy dates. Sawyer Bussey has a look at that.
For some dogs, finding a family starts here.
They're very anxious. All the dogs are barking, a lot of loud noises. They get nervous.
A day trip from the kennel to, well, anywhere.
And then once we get them out of there, they really blossom. We see them, do their tail wag, running around, getting the zoomies, getting really excited. And it shows people their true personalities.
At Fulton County Animal Services, there is a program open to anyone to come pick up a dog and take them out for a day of fun.
It gives them mental exercise, it gives them physical exercise, it gets them a break from the shelter.
To the pool, to get a pup cup, you name it, some of these dogs have been there. This is Spike. He spent the day adventuring, never once pulling on his leash. He was kind to children, incredibly relaxed. That's the thing about this program, when people can see the real personalities of dogs. They might see that dog fitting into their family. Some of the puppy dates have gone on social media.
On video and on our social media, we've pulled out at least 7, I believe, and 6 of them are out of the shelter right now.
The dogs are able to shake off the stress, and all of a sudden, the dog finds a home.
A way to see the world outside of the shelter wall.
So it's time to head back to the kennel, and there is a noticeable difference in Spike's demeanor. In Fulton County, Sawyer Bussey.
How much is left?
Atlanta News First.
That is the best. I love that. I love that. There is nothing better than having a little four-legged friend at home. And if you can adopt, do it. And just a reminder again, if you've got four-legged friends at home, if you've got a puppy or kittens or whatever, just keep in mind that it's, again, going to be really muggy and hot over the next few days. Mother Nature saying, hey, Labor Day may be, here and gone, but fall's not here quite yet. You know that. So just keep an eye on them and just be aware that there is an air quality alert today as well. We hope you make it an awesome day today. And Rick Fulbaum and Joy Lim-Nakran will see you for Atlanta News First at noon.